In this video, we're going to build Talion from Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor as a playable character in Dungeons & Dragons. And there was a surprising amount of ways to build him, but let's go ahead and start with the species. I wanted to grab Reborn since he kind of dies and comes back to life, but I think it's a little easier to go with a human. This gives us Resourceful, so we have a heroic inspiration we can use once per long rest that automatically refuels. We get Skillful, which allows us proficiency in one skill, and we're going to go with Insight. And then we get the feature Versatile, which gives us an Origin feat, and we're going to do the tried and true Tough, giving us an extra 2 hit points of health per level of this overall build. Then when it comes to a background, we're going to go with Soldier. It's fairly fitting for Talion. It even describes you as training for war, and you're in the Shadow of War game, so it fits. It gives us skill proficiencies in Intimidation, and we're also going to grab Arcana as well. There's a default skill that we get from being a soldier that we're going to get somewhere else, so I get to swap that out for Arcana. We also get the feat Savage Attacker, which makes it so once per turn when you hit a target with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target. Then when it comes to a starting class, Talion is known as a ranger, so that's what we're going to start with. This gives us 3 skill proficiencies right away. So we're going to grab Stealth, Perception, and Athletics, all of which are very fitting for the character. Also at first level of Ranger, thanks to the updates that happened back in 2024, you get some spell casting right at first level instead of having to wait anymore. And paired with that, you also get Favored Enemy. So you automatically have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared, and you can cast it twice without expending a spell slot, regaining all uses when you finish a long rest. You can actually get more free castings of this as you level up in Ranger. Then the last thing you get from first level of Ranger is a Weapon Mastery. And Talion usually uses a longsword for the most part, so we're going to grab Weapon Mastery with that, giving us the Sap Weapon Mastery feature. So when you hit a creature with a longsword, that creature has disadvantage on its next attack roll before the start of your next turn. But being a ranger, Talion also can use a bow, so we're going to grab Weapon Mastery with a longbow, giving us the slow feature. So when you hit a creature with a longbow and deal damage to it, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet. Then when it comes to some first level spells, on top of grabbing the Hunter's Mark that we get automatically, we'll grab Cure Wounds so you have a way to heal yourself, then Hail of Thorns so you can rain down arrows, because as you level up as Talion in the games, you can create these spectral archers and rain down arrows from all over the place, so Hail of Thorns helps us replicate that. We'll also grab Ensnaring Strike to tie somebody up or bind them in some way as you hit them with a weapon, and then we'll also grab Zephyr Strike to have that shadowy way of dashing forward and then slashing through your enemies. At second level of Ranger, you get Deft Explorer, so you get to learn 2 languages. We'll go with Elvish because the spirit that you tie yourself to is definitely an elf, and knowing Elvish kind of pairs with that. Then there's Uruk in the game, which are kind of weird combinations of orcs or goblins, so we'll grab Orcish for your other language. We also get Expertise in one skill, so we'll use Expertise in Stealth because that's usually the most useful when you're really got to rely on making sure a skill really works. Then also at second level of Ranger, you get a Fighting Style. And because Talion uses so many different ways of combat, we don't want to pigeonhole him into anything too specific. So we'll get something a bit more general that helps all around, with the Defense Fighting Style, giving us an extra +1 to our armor class. Then at third level of Ranger, we get to choose a Ranger subclass. And while Gloomstalker fits kind of thematically, the overall abilities and basically everything else about Talion really just leans more into a Horizon Walker, which you can find in the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This gives us Horizon Walker magic, so you get a bunch of spells added to your spell list for free. Now, we're only going to be able to use a few of them because we're going to be doing a multi-class pretty soon, but third level of Ranger gives you access to protection from evil and good, 5th level of Ranger gives you Misty Step, and 9th level of Ranger will give you Haste. And Haste is probably going to be the most useful because we have other ways to utilize the other spells without actually using the spells. And Haste will allow us to get double movement speed, an extra attack that we can throw in on top of everything else, boosting our armor class by 2, and giving us advantage on dexterity saving throws. Also, from becoming a Horizon Walker, you get Detect Portal, and you can think of this as the waypoints that you find in the video games, but this just gives you a good sense of where that next waypoint is going to be. Then the last feature you get is Planar Warrior. So as a bonus action, you can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The next time you hit that creature on this turn with a weapon attack, all damage dealt becomes force damage, and the creature takes an extra 1d8 force damage from the attack. If you reach 11th level in Ranger, that damage increases to a bonus 2d8 instead. Then at 4th level of Ranger, you get an ability score improvement. And since we're going to be a bit more focused on using our longsword, we're going to go with more of a strength-focused Ranger. So here is the starting ability scores. Very well rounded and really not min-maxed very well, but that's going to be very important pretty soon, and then we'll throw that 2 points into strength. Then at 5th level of Ranger, you get extra attack, so you can attack twice per attack action, and you get access to 2nd level spells. So we'll grab Find Traps just to keep yourself alive a little better, Magic Weapon to boost up the damage of your weapon, giving it a +1 by default, and you can upcast this if you really needed to a +2, and Magic Weapon doesn't require concentration, so it's pretty darn helpful. Then we'll also grab Pass Without Trace to really boost up your stealth checks, giving you a +10 bonus to your stealth, and Silence, just so that way you can deal with any pesky spellcasters. 6th level of Ranger gives you Roving, so your speed is boosted by 10 feet, and you get a climbing and swimming speed equal to your normal speed, and the amount of parkour stuff that you do in the games for Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War means that climbing speed is really going to be helpful. 7th level of Ranger, thanks to being a Horizon Walker, gives you Ethereal Step, and this is where you really start tapping into the abilities of Talion, because this allows you to step through the ethereal plane. So as a bonus action, you can cast the Etherealness spell with this feature without expending any spell slot, but the spell ends at the end of the current turn, and you can only use this once per short or long rest. Then at 8th level of Ranger, you get another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up that strength right away. And then at 9th level, we get access to expertise in 2 more skills. So let's boost up our intimidation and athletics. Intimidation is really going to help for scaring the hell out of the Uruk. Also at this level, you get access to 3rd level spells. So we'll grab Revivify to bring somebody back from the dead, and Conjure Barrage, so you have another way to rain down arrows on your enemies. 10th level of Ranger gives us Tireless, so as a magic action, you can give yourself a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier, and you can use this a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier, regaining all uses when you finish a long rest. Also, when you finish a short rest, you can reduce your levels of exhaustion by 1. Then at 11th level of being a Horizon Walker Ranger, you get Distant Strike. So when you take the attack action, you can teleport 10 feet before each attack to an unoccupied space you can see. And if you attack at least 2 different creatures with the attack action, you can make 1 additional attack against a 3rd creature, meaning that if you have haste active, you can actually attack 4 creatures or attack 4 different times, because that haste action is going to be 1 more on top of that. Now we could go with 1 more level in Ranger, which would give us another ability score improvement, which would allow us to maybe boost up our strength, but we don't really need that because strength is mostly just for attacking with our longsword, and we already have Magic Weapon, and we can boost up the effectiveness of our attack and damage rolls just as easily with Magic Weapon rather than worrying about boosting up on our ability score. And I want to lean even more into that connection you have with the spiritual elf that is also kind of hanging out in your body. So I'm going to look at that as a bit of a pact and multi-class into Warlock. This gives us an Eldritch Invocation right away, and we're just going to grab Eldritch Mind, giving us advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on spells. We also get some Pact Magic right at 1st level. So when it comes to cantrips, I would grab Chill Touch, so you can place your hand on an enemy and really burn the fear of death into them. Mage Hand, so that way you can distract an enemy further away by maybe tapping them on the shoulder or dropping a stone or something like that. And then Mind Sliver just to mess with their heads. But as far as 1st level spells, I don't want to grab anything right now. Instead, just use that spell casting to cast any of your ranger stuff you might need. Then at 2nd level, you get 2 more Eldritch Invocations. So let's grab Devil's Sight so you can see in darkness, both magical and non-magical, and we'll grab Otherworldly Leap, so you can cast Jump on yourself without expending a spell slot, which will help even more with that parkour stuff. 2nd level also gives us Magical Cunning, so if you use any of your packed magic spell slots, you can restore half of them with just a minute of downtime, but you can only regain up to half of your total packed magic spell slots. So if you already have half of them, you can't regain any. Then at 3rd level of Warlock, you get to choose a Warlock subclass. And when it comes to all of the abilities that Talion has, it's probably going to be the most useful to go with an Archfey patron. This gives us Archfey spells, so we get a whole bunch of spells added to our spell lists for free, with spells like Sleep, Fairy Fire, which is super useful because it'll give you advantage on a whole bunch of attacks against your enemies, Calm Emotions to control people's minds a bit more, another way to cast Misty Step, and Phantasmal Force. Also, from being an Archfey, you get Steps of the Fey. So you can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier. And on top of that, whenever you cast the spell, immediately after you teleport, you or one creature you can see within 10 feet of yourself gain 1d10 temporary hit points. And you get the feature Taunting Step. So creatures within 5 feet of the space you left must succeed a Wisdom saving throw, or have disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you until the start of your next turn. This is just one more way that you can teleport consistently. We also get access to 2nd level spellcasting at this point, so we're going to grab Mirror Image to boost up our defense a bit, and to make sure you have the ability to start influencing the goblins or orcs or anything that you're dealing with, grab the spell Suggestion. It starts incorporating that enemy corruption system. I don't remember what they called it in the games, although I'm still kind of upset that they patented it because it was really cool, but now you can't use it in any other games despite the fact that they're not coming out with another Shadow of whatever game. So it's kind of just hanging out there dead, unable to be used anywhere else. But Suggestion will kind of recreate it, at least in D&D. So in 25 words or less, you can suggest something to an enemy, and they have to kind of do their best to make sure it happens. 4th level of Warlock gives us an ability score improvement, and since we already have a way to boost up our damage well enough so that way it would be essentially the same as having 20 strength, we're going to go ahead and put 2 points into Charisma to help out our Warlock spellcasting. 5th level gives us 2 more Eldritch Invocations, so we'll grab Gaze of 2 Minds, so you can use a bonus action to perceive through somebody else's senses, and we'll also grab one with Shadows. So if you're in dim light or darkness, you can become invisible without expending a spell slot. Also at this level, you get access to 3rd level spellcasting. So we'll grab Counterspell to deal with spellcasters even more, Spirit Shroud to boost up our damage, giving us a bonus 1d8 extra damage to any creature we hit within 10 feet of us, and that creature can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. And on top of that, any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 feet, which frankly is really helpful because I always hated chasing down the enemies that I was trying to mark in the game. And also to place your hand on somebody and really do that searing damage, we'll grab Vampiric Touch. So your shadow-wreathed hand can siphon life from creatures, healing yourself at the same time, allowing you to make a melee spell attack, dealing 3d6 necrotic damage, and you regain half of that damage. This is now a concentration spell that lasts for a minute, and you can use it every single turn if you want to. Also at 5th level of Warlock, we automatically get the Blink spell thanks to being an Archfey Warlock, and we get Plant Growth, although Plant Growth probably doesn't fit very well. Then at 6th level of being an Archfey Warlock, you get Misty Escape. So you can cast Misty Step as a reaction, as a response to taking damage. And on top of that, the Steps of the Fey option gives you 2 additional options. With Disappearing Step, so you have the invisible condition until the start of your next turn immediately after teleporting, but that invisible condition ends immediately after you make an attack roll, deal damage, or cast a spell. The other option is Dreadful Step. So creatures within 5 feet of the space you left or the space you appear in must succeed a Wisdom saving throw or take 2d10 psychic damage. Then 7th level of Warlock gives us 1 more Eldritch Invocation, so we'll grab Whispers of the Grave. So you can cast the Speak with Dead spell without expending a spell slot. And that's actually a very relevant ability that Talion has to be able to talk to creatures that he has slain. You also get access to 4th level spells, and just so you have another spectral thing helping you out, we'll grab Spirit of Death. It's just a death spirit you can summon and fight alongside you. And at 7th level of Warlock, you get Dominate Beast from being an Archfey Warlock just for free. This is going to be pretty helpful for having those crazy monster things that you can ride in the game, and you had the ability to place your hand on them and dominate their mind, so this is insanely fitting. You also get the Greater Invisibility spell for free thanks to being an Archfey Warlock, and that's just a super powerful spell to have, because normal invisibility is good, but Greater Invisibility is much better in combat because you can actually keep attacking stuff without losing your invisibility. 8th level of Warlock will give us an ability score improvement, but since we're at 19th level overall, we can actually grab an epic boon. And we have plenty of ways to teleport, but why not grab one more and go with the boon of dimensional travel. This gives us the feature Blink Steps, and so immediately after you take the attack action or magic action, you can teleport 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. And this also allows us to boost one ability score by 1 point, so let's go ahead and round out our wisdom score so it's at least a little more useful. Then at 9th level of Warlock, you get access to 5th level spells. By default, thanks to being an Archfey Warlock, you get the Dominate Person spell. And that's part of the reason I wanted to go with an Archfey, despite the fact that pretty much every ability helps this build. But Dominate Person is especially useful, so you can mark your enemies and control them and force them to do your bidding. You also get the Seeming spell, but we don't care that much about that one. And then as far as spells we want to be able to choose, we'll grab Far Step, so we have one more way to teleport, because obviously we need more ways to teleport, even though we really don't. We'll grab Hold Monster, and frankly, I would grab Hold Person along the way, but you just swap it out later once you upgrade because Warlock spell slots are always cast at their max level anyways, so Hold Monster is a little more versatile. And then because you have the way to slam your hand down and let out this shimmering thing of light that hits all your enemies, we're gonna grab Wall of Light. It can literally create a circle of light around you and deal radiant damage to things, and so I think it's pretty fitting. But the last thing you get from a 9th level of Warlock is Contact Patron. So when you're talking to Celebrimbor, I think that's how you say it. It's been a while since I played the game. You actually have a mechanical way to do that in D&D. With Contact Patron, you always have the Contact Other Planes spell prepared, allowing you to speak with him in whatever way that you need. That brings you to 20th level, so we have plenty of ways to do our normal attacking. We have our teleportation, we have spectral things helping us out, we have a way to incorporate the Nemesis system, which I didn't think we'd be able to pull off, but it's surprisingly easy between Suggestion, Dominate Person, and Dominate Monster. And overall, I think this build fits insanely well. If there's anything you do differently, let me know in the comments down below. And if you want access to this character sheet or any of my other character sheets, because I got a heck of a lot of them over on Patreon, so feel free to check that out. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here helping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to play Talion combined with Celebrimbor from Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, and bringing all of those things from Middle-earth into your D&D session in an absolutely insanely fitting way.